Chip, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm Jonathan. Good evening.
Welcome, good day. Regular meeting in Clear Lake City Council of Monday, February 1, 2021 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Bennett, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To the consent agenda. You have a copy of the minutes of January 18th, 2021. We need approval of the bills and claims, of which you also have a copy. We have the following licenses and permits: liquor license, Class E liquor license, Class B wine permit, Class C beer permit with Sunday sales. That's Randy's Neighborhood Market, and that's a renewal. We have an excavator license, Country Landscapes, that's a renewal. And we have tree trimmers licenses, K&C Tree Service, Cutting Edge Tree Service, Jim's Tree Service. Those are all renewals. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Mark, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same. Motion carries. Now is the time and place for anyone in the audience who wishes to address the council on any items that are not on the agenda. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter in the minutes. This is not a discussion time nor a question and answer time, and you have 3 to 5 minutes. None appearing, we'll move on to unfinished business, of which we have none. We'll go to 6A under new business, rezoning request 408 Mars Hill Drive, formerly the Sunset School property. Review, Mr. Flory. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Run through the items in your packet here with you, give some introductory remarks, then Mr. Ritter, the Community Development Director, will review the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission with you after I'm finished. The first green sheet in your packet is the public notice that was published in the newspaper. I just point out that that is not a requirement of our code or state law that notice be published, but we go the extra mile and publish it anyway. So that was published in the Clear Lake Mirror Reporter on January 13th, indicating that the Planning and Zoning Commission would meet on January 26th here at 5:30 p.m. in the council chambers at City Hall to take up the request from Dolly James for the rezoning of the former Sunset School property. The next sheets that follow in your packet are pink, and that is the ordinance 857, that would amend the zoning map of the city of Clear Lake to change the zoning of the property at 408 Mars Hill Drive, again, former Sunset School property, from public to RS8, which is medium density single family residential. And again, that is the first reading of the ordinance for your consideration this evening. And of course, as you know, we have 3 readings of the ordinance. So again, tonight, just simply the first reading of that ordinance following the public hearing. The purple sheet in the packet following that is the resolution that you approved at your December 21st meeting, referring the matter of the proposal to change the zoning of 408 Mars Hill Drive to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their review and recommendation, which again is their statutory authority and scope under Iowa law. They're a recommendatory body, so they would make the recommendation back to the council regarding the proposal for the rezoning. So that also set the date for your consideration of the matter for this evening, February 1st, here in the council chambers at 6 p.m. on the proposal to change the zoning for 408 Mars Hill Drive. And the backside of that purple sheet is a copy of the public notice that we are required to publish in the newspaper. So that was published on January 20th in the Clear Lake Mirror Reporter, and that was also mailed to the adjacent property owners as required by our code. And that was done on January 22nd. So again, just indicating that the council would take this matter under consideration for the change in the zoning request as filed by Dolly James, and that would be, again, 6 p.m. this evening here in the council chambers. The next sheet is the copy of the city's zoning code, chapter 165.11, regarding medium-density single-family residential zoning. RS8 is the category described, and that's just included for your edification to identify that the only permitted use allowed in that zoning category is detached single-family dwellings. And then you can see there are a few provisional uses that are provided for, and then conditional uses. And of course, as you know, the conditional uses require consideration by the city's Board of Adjustment prior to any of those approvals. So, and the last but not least page is a zoning copy of the zoning map that identifies the property proposed for the rezoning to RS8, the medium density single family residential category, and then outlines the area in the immediate vicinity, the zoning districts that you can see there. Everything west of the Sunset View Drive is zoned RS8 currently, and everything on the east is zoned RM12, which is medium density multifamily zoning. So those are the most contiguous zoning categories. Again, RS8 to the west and RM12 to the east. So again, I guess I don't have anything further in terms of any more introductory remarks. As I mentioned, Mr. Ritter will review the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission from its meeting this past Tuesday night, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if the council has any questions for me.
Council, any questions for Scott? None. Thank you, Scott. Recommendation from Planning and Zoning, Mike Ritter, Building Official. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. At our last meeting, we actually had gone through the presentation for the proposed zoning change in that at our meeting. The board did actually vote to approve the change from public to the RS8, the medium density single family zoning on that one too. A couple of comments were from a couple of residents in the area, and there too, we met with those on there too, and we had some answers that they had some questions, and we answered those out too at our meeting, so everything seemed to go well at that one too. But the board's recommendation is to approve the zoning change.
Council, any questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, before I open up the public meeting, I just want to give a few short directions. I will first read some correspondence that we have, or those who sent the correspondence, and then we will have the public hearing with regard to the rezoning request of 408 Mars Hill Drive. This will be the first of 3 readings, and this meeting, and this is according to code, procedure, etc., this is the only time that there will be a public hearing, is the first reading. The second and third, we will simply act upon the particular motion. And so now, before I open that public meeting, we do have correspondence, correct, Mrs. Larson?
Yes.
And these are the 3 that you had given me. Okay. With regard to the rezoning request of 408 Mars Hill Drive, we have correspondence from Kathy and Steve Lacey, who are property owners at 515 and 516 of North Shore Drive. We have George and Deb Milligan, who are property owners at 519 North Shore Drive. And we have Chris and Morgan Lovell, who are property owners at 527 North Shore Drive. And now is the time and place for the public hearing with regard to the rezoning request of 408 Mars Hill Drive. And please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter it in the minutes. And whoever would like to start may approach the podium. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm Steve Lacey, and this is my wife, Kathy. We submitted a letter that you made reference to, Mayor, and we own 515 and 516 North Shore Drive. We just wanted to come here in person as well to show further support for the action, and we think turning the property back into a school would be a really nice addition. We remember when it was a school a number of years ago and thought that it was really very positive for a nice residential neighborhood like that. So we appreciate your consideration and also appreciate you allowing us to make some comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? None appearing. Council will entertain a motion to close the public hearing with regard to the rezoning request at 408 Mars Hill Drive.
So offered. Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Bennett, that we close the public hearing with regard to, once again, the rezoning request of 408 Mars Hill Drive. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. And now is the time and place, council, for discussion among ourselves and/or staff members of the city. Is there any discussion prior to my asking for action on ordinance number 857?
Yes, Mayor, if I could, I'd like to just offer my support for the rezoning. I think that, again, it's a very positive thing for the community and the Clear Lake Classical School and the opportunity for them to be there. Also, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight for the meeting. And so I think it would be, again, wise for us to go ahead and follow the P&Z recommendation, and I will support changing the zoning. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mike?
It seems like we've just come full circle, which ironically many things in life tend to do. But, you know, as I understand it, since the school district nor the city no longer own the property, it had to be changed, and this one seems to do the least amount of negative impact to the neighborhood and basically allows for the continuance of the school at the same time. So, yeah, it seems to make a lot of sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, council? And our staff members? None appearing, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 857, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Clear Lake, Iowa to rezone certain property to RS8, medium density, single family residential. Motion. Moved by Gary, seconded by Mark, that we approve ordinance number 857. Is there any discussion? None appearing, roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Gary?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, and ordinance number 857 is duly adopted on the first of 3 readings. We thank you all. We go to 6B, $715,000 taxable general obligation refunding bond, which is McKesson, Series 2021C. Review, Creighton Smith, Director of Finance. Welcome, Creighton.
and council. At our last meeting on January 18th, the council awarded this bond refunding to Clear Lake Bank and Trust, a $715,000 bond at an interest rate of 0.35%. Tonight we have the resolution here to authorize the issuance of this bond, and that issuance will take place on February 25th, if approved. And again, this is a bond that we issued for McKesson back in 2014. It was initially a 10-year bond. The interest rate that is out remaining, it was roughly 3% interest. So again, we're taking advantage of the times that we're in right now, low interest rates, as well as the city's seen very favorably with how we've managed finances in the past, and then of course great relationships with the local banks, and Clear Lake Bank and Trust and MBT as well have both submitted favorable bids for the last bonds that we've issued. So again, 0.35, great rate. We're able to save about $20,000 in the remainder of paying off this bond. We're keeping the same maturity date, which is 4 years out, so we'll make 4 more payments. But the interest costs remaining will be $4,400. So as next to nothing as you can get on a bond like this. So very, very good time to take advantage of something like this.
Council, any questions for Craig? Chip, do you have anything to add to this with Chip with Northland out of Des Moines? Do you have anything to add to this?
I just want to say how much we appreciate working with the city, and thanks very much to the council and the city staff, and thanks to the Clear Lake area. We've really come together and got some good things done, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Chip. Thanks. Therefore, council, any discussion with regard to that before I ask for a motion on the resolution? Okay, entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2110, a resolution approving and authorizing a loan agreement and providing for the issuance of a $715,000 taxable general obligation refunding bond, Series 2021C, and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the bond.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2110. Is there any discussion? Roll call, Mike,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
and Mark.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2110 is duly adopted. Chief, report. Council, any questions of Chief? Not appearing. Public Works, Jeremy?
Thanks, council, mayor. Not a whole lot to report. Winter's been pretty uneventful. We do have our new radios in service that PD helped us out with getting all set up. They've been a great help, especially in our snow removal services when they're hauling snow, covering areas, knowing where our equipment needs to get to. Other than that, really nothing else to report at this time. Any questions for me?
Yeah. Good working relationship here, okay? We haven't had thank goodness, we haven't had a lot of snow here, so that helps as well.
Yeah, PD's been great on call-outs. Their officers on the streets, especially after hours, helping out with that, ice conditions, et cetera. So, we've met, talked about that, and just kind of operating procedures to keep in place, to kind of keep everything running. So,
Just curious, just for my benefit, and we haven't had a massive snowfall this year, but you were involved in several in previous years. How many man hours does it take to get get what you need to do in a, let's say, a 10-inch, 8-inch snow fall?
For example, the last one, the 4 to 5 inches we had last Tuesday, we got started about 2 a.m. and we had everything hauled and moved out around 10:30, 11. We had some cleanup after that to do some scraping. So, we have 7, 8 guys. So just a 4 to 5 inches, probably, 40 hour so that's what, 8 times 8, about 70 hours
Yeah.
after you're said and done. A 10-inch, what was it, a couple years ago, we had that 18-inch, we were out for almost 20 hours. So,
Yeah.
It just really depends on the type of snow we get, and, if it's a wet, heavy snow, it's gonna take a lot longer. So, it just varies, the conditions really.
And how many units can you have out there at the same time?
We have, we have 3 end loaders, front end loaders that are out plowing, our motor grader, and then we have 4 plow trucks. So the 2 large blue winged trucks, and then we have 2 of the older red single plow trucks that, and those 4 plow trucks do all the sanding for the city as well. So.
Yeah, all right. Just kind of interesting information, so thank you.
It just varies, the conditions really kind of impact how everything goes, so.
Brine seems to be working quite
Yeah, it's
well.
been pretty effective. We've used it the last two events we've got out in front of it. Again, the conditions kind of impact how well we can use that. If it's going to rain beforehand, or if we're getting some of that sleet stuff, a lot of times it won't do any good. Kind of that moisture kind of dilutes it and doesn't help. So, but the last 2 have been pretty effective. So it kind of gives us, especially on those snows that we've been getting this time of year, it kind of gives us kind of a window to allow it to make it to the end of the night, so we can go out overnight and get it cleaned up without any traffic. So.
And minimal, if any, effect on the lake is what I've read on that.
I've talked to Jim Shawley about that, and the quantities that we use and the diluting of it over time, by the time it gets to the lake, there's not an impact to it.
Tell the guys to please be careful of the mailboxes. I've been gnawed on a little bit lately about.
Yeah, we do our best. We obviously it's I don't know what the best way to put it is.
Yeah.
We don't aim for them, I guess, the best way to put it. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Chairman.
You bet, thanks.
Under Mayor's report, Stacy, are you there?
I am here. I'm wondering if it is the city worker sitting in your mailbox or if it's a disgruntled citizen. So that's my question.
Good one.
I just want to share that we had our annual meeting last Tuesday. To those of you who were able to make it, we shared a little bit about our plans coming into 2021.
Yeah, just a second, Stacy. Stacy, just a second. This is CEO of Chamber of Commerce Clear Lake, Stacy Dawn. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. We did delay the launch of our visitor guide because we just weren't certain what the year was going to shape out to be, but we are marching forward with that now. We're looking at a March 11th launch date for the visitor guide. So that'll be coming out. We are cautiously optimistic about our outdoor summer events that we have in the works. It's hard to believe, but Try Clear Lake is just a little over 17 weeks away, and Thursdays on Main then would be 18 weeks away. So starting to get into event planning pretty heavily right now. We're also working on a website refresh, so the website will better showcase our community, and it'll better showcase our member businesses as well, so people are able to get connected with whether it's a place to stay or a place to eat or things to do. Our site will just be more user-friendly and help people navigate it easier. I do want to share our annual award winners with you really quick. Our first mate of the year was Jenny Sue Erickson. North Iowa Service Award winner was Linda Upmeyer, specifically around her contribution to the lake restoration and her service as our representative. The Larry Bucher Volunteer of the Year was Carrie Tisdall. She spends endless hours helping the chamber on all sorts of things, but was a huge part of launching Try Clear Lake, which has become one of our greatest signature events at the chamber. Education Partner of the Year was CityofClearLake-Iowa. They ensured every student in in Clear Lake was connected to the internet to continue learning back March when everyone was forced to go online. And then Business of the Year was Fairway for their 50 years of service to our community and always just being a good community citizen. So that's the update I have for you, unless there are any questions.
Council, any questions for Stacy? Annual meeting, well done, Stacy. That, under all the conditions, partial Zoom, partial in-person at the Surf Ballroom, masking, well done, meals served appropriately, and I think very, very well attended as well. And keep in mind, just recently, we now have a national landmark in Clear Lake, and that is the Surf Ballroom. We are one of 27 now in the state of Iowa and only 2,600 in the United States. So we're right on par with the Washington Monument, Valley Forge, and the Golden Dome in Des Moines. That's also on there as well. So that's excellent news for the Surf Ballroom, certainly, and those who are on that board. They've done an excellent job there, as well as for the city of Clear Lake. Thank you, Stacy. Chad, North Iowa Corridor, are you there? I'm over here. Oh, you're over here. You are there. Didn't see you come in. Sorry.
That's all right.
Welcome.
Thanks. Yep, thanks, Mayor, Council. You can tell Scott's been on vacation when you have 2 agenda items, so that was good to see. So I'll try to be brief too. Quick update on the digital economy strategic planning we've been doing. We've been working through that these past couple of months, really trying to coordinate our K through 12 through college and into business talent pipeline for technology, as well as for tech companies. And we have kind of a cool opportunity. If you've seen a thing in Jefferson, Iowa called The Forge, was a partnership that their school system and colleges, community colleges, and a company called Pillar Technologies had put together a couple of years ago. Gotten a lot of state and national attention from a lot of big tech companies, from Microsoft to various others. We had actually been in discussions with them at that time, and for various reasons they decided to pick Jefferson at that point. But with all that we're working on, we reached back out to them, and it turns out that the guy that really started that has spun off and is doing his own nonprofit company right now, or initiative right now with the same kind of setup. So we have a conversation here this week with our schools, as well as the college and us and our Vision North Iowa partners with him, to talk through what could possibly work together, what we could work together on. And just a really, really cool opportunity. So we'll see where that leads. But he said it's kind of nice now that he's a nonprofit. He doesn't have to worry about profit motives or some of the other things he did with the company, and he's got a lot more flexibility now. So that's kind of a cool shot for us on that program. And it's kind of another twist of fate. Doug G actually graduated from high school with him, so they've got a good relationship. So that's kind of a neat opportunity for us. We're also obviously in the first couple of weeks of the legislative session, trying to keep up with everything there. They've had over 800 bills introduced so far, so quite a bit flying around. Working with our partners at ABI and Iowa Chamber Alliance and Professional Developers of Iowa to keep track of that as those things come up. Actually had a chance to sit down with their new representative, Shannon Latham, here on Friday. Had a really good conversation with her. Think that her values and what she's trying to do really align well with us. She's obviously a business owner, been in North Iowa for a long time, so appreciate where she's coming from on a lot of these issues, and I think she'll lend a good ear to things. So as things come up, don't be afraid to reach out to her. Certainly happy to be a conduit, but I think she'll be a good partner with us. Also on the school side, obviously we've changed all of our programming in our business opportunities in the schools, but we are working on mock interviews that will all be virtual with our businesses, just trying to give students those opportunities again to connect with local business leaders and hopefully learn some skills in getting prepared for their careers. On the attraction side, we've had a few really nice warehouse type opportunities here in the last month. One that's looking for about a 3-acre site, another one for about a 10-acre site. So we've been able to just preliminarily share a few sites here on I-35 with them, as well as along the Avenue of the Saints. So continue to have discussions with them and just see if we have the right fit and if we can get to the next stage with those guys. And also just on the marketing side, of course, we continue the Vision North Iowa marketing efforts, but more here in the immediate future, working with the Globe on their annual Progress Edition. Their focus this year is perseverance, which I think is a very good category, and I think a really good way to describe how North Iowa, Clear Lake, Mason City, our communities have really pulled together. And so be meeting with them this week to talk through some of the good things that have happened economically here in North Iowa. So that's all I got.
Any, your feelings on COVID and its impact right here in this area?
Yeah, I think,
Economic?
yeah, so I can give you a quick overview. So straight employment numbers year over year, we are down about 850 to 900 jobs for employed people. We were just over 26,000 a year ago. We're at about 25,400 or something like that now. And when you look at that, how it broke down by sector, you look at our primary sector employers, the manufacturers, healthcare, education, social services, they've pretty well maintained. We did, we always do our top 10 employers, and we contact them every year just directly and ask how their count is this year. I think we saw of those 20, so we do 10 in Clear Lake, 10 in Mason City. I think of those 20, maybe 4 were down. The rest either maintained or were up slightly, so that was really positive to see. Obviously, our unemployment numbers are back down to about 3.2%. We were down around 2.4 a year ago, so not all the way back, obviously, and of course with the job numbers down, that's unfortunate. I mean, the positive of that, if there is one, is most of those are more the retail, restaurant sector, the kind of jobs that do bounce back as the economy kind of bounces back. But again, been really proud of the way that our manufacturers and other large employers have handled it. I mean, we haven't experienced major outbreaks in any of our employers. We haven't had major shutdowns. The biggest issues have been more supply chain related and things like that. So, you know, the McKessons of the world, the Crafts, the Titan Pros, the Dealer Builds, all these different companies are doing very well through it. And just drive up and down the road, you got a hotel going up. You got everything from a T-Mobile down over in Mason City to that hotel to the VA hospital. You know, you got all these things happening right now. So a lot of development still going.
Is housing still a block, or?
Still a need? Yes. So, you know, like the Talent Apartments downtown Mason City, they're over 70% full already, being open just over a month. 133 units, so, you know, that puts them around 80 to 90 people. You know, so that tells you, and they're already excited enough to do another project because they're seeing that kind of demand. When we look at the single-family housing, that midpoint, that 150 to 250 range has been a challenge, both in Mason City and Clear Lake. And that's, again, not just us. That's everywhere. Every community in Iowa has that issue right now. But again, the ones that address it are the ones that are going to win. So I think that's an area that we need to continue to be aggressive about. The state, that's one of the big legislative priorities, is housing assistance and potential funding for that. So again, continue to be aggressive about those kind of things. If there's opportunities for us at the local level to, you know, to just be development friendly and work with our local developers, that's one of the big challenges we have on housing. You know, a lot of those bigger developers can build the, you know, spend the same amount of money on development costs for a house here or somewhere else, and they might be able to sell it for more somewhere else and just have a bigger margin. So how do we close that gap? You know, is it tax abatement, tax rebates, whatever those things might be. And I know the city's been great about that. But just things to consider, and as always, try to explore those opportunities.
Just curious, market rate rental, what's that run now?
Depends who you ask, but typically what we're looking at, so just as an example on the Talon ones, they've got the studio apartments that run at about $550, and that's, you know, very small. You know, you're not going to have a family in there, but very small, not even really a full-on bedroom. To 3 bedrooms that go for, I think, $1,100 to $1,200. You know, 2 bedrooms in that $950 range. So that's kind of what we're seeing. 1 bedroom in the $750 range.
Got last week on the housing part, you know, I think 3 times. It kind of goes in spurts, but, you know, cry is you don't have anything available for the person talking for me, right. You know, under 275, and that's what I'm looking for.
And you look, you know, if you think about just a new nurse or a new you know, Doug G will say that all the time. When we're trying to get new teachers housing, where are they gonna live? They're not gonna buy that $350,000 house most likely. When I was coming out of college making $30,000, that would've scared the heck out of me, right? And, so how do we fill that gap? It's tough, and one of the things you hear a lot about is retirement age folks. How do we get them out of some of the bigger houses and have the housing available, or rental, or whatever it might be, condos that are attractive to them, but open up that bigger house for a young family. Those are challenges, but there's things that we can hopefully do to encourage that, and just get the word out about what those opportunities might be to people.
I don't want you to kick me out of my house. So.
Well, and that's just it. It's a balance, because you don't want to kick anybody out of the house, but how long do you want to mow that big yard, right?
I'm having trouble getting my COVID shot now. You can't do that. But any other questions, Council?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Chad. Mike Keefe, Clear Lake Fire Department, who this will be their 150-year celebration, correct?
Well, that takes away what I was going to talk about.
Thanks for speaking.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilor. Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that. January was a busy month for us. It was 104 calls, a little bit more than last year. We had 93. A lot of medical calls. We're getting a lot of medical calls. Obviously, not many fire calls and that kind of thing. We did have an interesting call. We were called to help out with the DNR, and we were able to use our water drone to find those two snowmobiles. Sent it down there, and the camera came up with numbers right off the snowmobile, so we could come up with who owned them, where they were at, and then someone's going to have to pull them out. I'm not sure who's going to pull them out of the lake, but we did use it. We were able to use our aerial drone as well to work on that situation out there, see if we could see anything from the air. Guys did a really good job. We had a great grain rescue training class. We had a company come out of Fort Dodge that came through the Iowa Fire Marshal's Office Training Bureau in Ames, came up and put on a really good one-day grain rescue training class. He does it every year for the people over in Mason City at the grain company, and he was willing to stay over one night, and the guys got some really good training out of that. Hopefully we'll never have to use that. We have a lot of the equipment that he taught the guys with, but it was just a good way to refresh that. Hopefully it's not going to happen for us. The new ambulance obviously is working great. I talked to Mr. Burke, and he said it is working out real well. Squad 57, we just got that back. It's a new upgrade. If you haven't seen it, you have to come over and take a look at it. We kind of went big tire. We put some pretty good sized tires in that truck now, got it up in the air, so it's be much easier to use in field fires. We also put a remote model nozzle in the front. You can sit in the cab now and run that nozzle. It's going to make it much safer for us on the interstate especially. I mean, we're going to be able to go down the interstate now, get some grass fires out there. We don't have to put manpower along the interstate at all. It's quite a difference. If you see what it was before and what it is now, it's kind of shocking. I'm not sure how many of our short guys are going to be able to get in a cab to drive it, but we hope we can figure out something. Most of our guys have gotten their COVID shot. Mayor, you should have been a volunteer. You probably could have gotten shot earlier, but most of the guys have gotten their COVID shot. I went and got mine last week. Worked out really well. As far as the 150th, we're working on that. We'll probably come back in April and see. I'm not sure how you do all the proclamations and stuff, but the fire department was formed in April of 1871, so that's when the council actually met, and Mike was here. So obviously we formed it at that point in time. But anyway, so we may come back in April to get a special thing for that, because that's actually when it was formed. We have all the minutes. We've got the minutes over the station of that, part of that, copies of that. So we might bring those over and let you see those too. So that's kind of exciting for us. We're working on some special decals that are going to be going on the trucks. We're working also on a special banner that will be put out in front of the station, and also will be displayed hopefully as we are in the 4th of July parade. Other than that, that's about it. Mike, I just want to let you know I had knee surgery, so you don't have to send me a good card. I'm doing real well. Any other questions?
Yeah. What about long hauls? Are we still kind of short on ambulance like to Mayo and to Iowa City?
Yeah, Mayor, I think Doug will probably, it's finding help to get that done. I mean, we could probably get more calls, no question about it. I mean, I know Doug has a list over there, and he'd like to do that, but it's finding the staff that can come in that day, take the ambulance and go. I mean, if we had an excess number of paramedics and guys that would like to do that, I don't think it'd be a problem, but it's just finding the manpower to get them on the road and get them up to Iowa City and all these places. But it'd be great. I mean, it's a good service, and I know Mason City, they're calling us all the time, and Mercy is. We just don't have the manpower to kick an ambulance loose and then find 2 guys to take off with it. But it'd be nice if we could figure that out sometime.
What's that mean, about 15, I suppose, somewhere in there? Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, if we could figure out a way to get even some of our, some way to get the volunteers to be the driver and be the second person and go with a paramedic or something like that, an EMT, that would work great too. But it's, guys that volunteer, it's hard to, you're out
right.
4 or 5 hours at night and then come back and go to work the next day.
Right.
It's kind of tough.
Right.
But we're trying, we'll see what can happen.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're doing fine over there, so
Great.
thanks.
Thank you. I don't want to beleaguer this. We hear too much of it on television, but hopefully we're getting through these COVID shots. And I know this morning's thing was kind of a disaster for me. Those 200 went down pretty quickly. But I think we all need to be patient. We all need to be safe. We all need to, when we're in groups, certainly mask up. I know the high school is doing a really good job when basketball games and so on, that the only parents, I think, is that right, Mike, are still there, aren't they? And that, but for the most part, students can come, I think, as a group. But yeah. So that's we're all trying, but boy, we all get those shots. I just heard of a little guy, a year and a half, got the COVID this last week, and that really hurts to see that. So keep our fingers crossed, and we'll get there. Mr. Flory?
Couple things real quick, Mayor, Council. Creighton and I have been working quite extensively on the budget since our last budget workshop. So if you're able, I've spoken to a couple of you about another budget workshop for this Thursday. Probably start at 8:15 in the morning and maybe go till about 10:30, 11 o'clock, somewhere in that range. So, if we could get your concurrence on that, we'd appreciate it. So. The budget's come along really well. Again, always the overarching theme is to try to keep our property tax rate the same. So, quite confident we'll be able to do that. I think we still are able to put together a pretty aggressive budget for the city, with a lot of capital improvement projects, a lot of capital purchases, and some significant economic development initiatives, all part of that fiscal year 22 budget proposal. I just wanted to alert you to the next council meeting. If you recall, we had revised our development agreement with the developer for the Marriott project, so we'll have a first progress payment to be made on that project to the developer, so that'll be included with the bills and claims at the next meeting. The county is holding their public hearing tomorrow at the courthouse on the proposal to dispose of their interest in the South 15th Street property, the County Secondary Road Department, to us for purposes of constructing the new Everybody Plays playground project there. So I know Mayor is going, I'm going, Bennett, I think you're going, Christina is going to come along with us. So, just more or less to recognize the county's collaboration on that project and thank them for their willingness to be good partners with us, and build something that's going to be, I think, a really unique asset, not just for Clear Lake, but for Saragordo County as well. So, other than that, I don't have anything further, unless anyone has any questions.
I could probably do this. You can elaborate just a little bit, though, on the signage, Bob Leisure.
Yeah. So we had progress payment included in tonight's bills and claims on that. So that kind of got LRI Graphics as the consultant we're using for the entryway signage project, and so they'll start the fabrication, I guess is what you would describe it as, of those 4 new gateway entryway signs for the community, 2 of which will have the LED boards attached to them. So that's underway. So anticipate at some point we'll probably have in-house our public works guys take down the existing gateway entryway signs in preparation for the new signs. And a couple of them will have to get an electrician involved to extend electrical service for the LED panels at a couple of locations, so. But all be completed, goal is to have them done probably by June 1st.
You know, in working with that, and Scott, and all of us here, I think we work very well with the chamber and the school district and the city as just one, but that has, you know, we need to announce who we are prior
Yeah.
at those two
Well,
main
I think
entrances in the
absolutely.
surf district as well.
No question about it. I give a lot of credit to Stacy Dawn, the chamber director, for bringing that initiative forward to our attention. And I thought she summarized it great in the fact that those current gateway, entryway signs that we have are circa probably 1994, 5, you know, somewhere in that vintage. And they really are not representative of who Clear Lake is as a community today and the significant success that we've had here within the last 20 years. You know, and so certainly a facelift upgrade to those was overdue. So compliments to her in bringing that forward.
And even though Color of the Wind won't be this year and probably couldn't be with the water we got out there now, but the fact that the chamber's going to pick all that up and go run with that and Larry and Kay Day, that's a good succession type plan.
Absolutely.
That works well. Yeah.
No question about it. We'll hope that you know, we'll be able to put those new signs to good use in promoting those community events. And I can't think of a better community that has a need for them with all the events that we have here to promote those kinds of things. I think the LED boards are going to be a fantastic opportunity to do that.
Any other questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Any other business, council? Thank you all for attending tonight. Appreciate your being here.